Hello, hello. This is the third attempt at doing this live. Very excited. Definitely have a lot more energy than the first time I went live right now. I'm just going to add Dr. Renuka quickly and then I will introduce her. Oh no, it still says proactive for her must upgrade app in order to join. I don't know why. I'm so sorry. Oh, okay. They've sent me a request. I'm just going to see if I can accept that. It'll be great if this can work.
Yes.
Oh my God! Yes. It kept saying that you still needed to update your app.
I don't know why that was so bad, but I could. First of all, I'm really sorry that you had to do this back and forth.
Not at all, not at all. I'm so excited to see you. So like it really does not matter. It must be quite early for you in the morning there, no?
Yeah, my day started like 5 hours ago because it's yeah, I had a field day today. I just got off a webinar with an NGO in Ahmednagar. So it's going to be such a change of pace for me. Rashi's like, this is a big day for you.
Yeah, oh my
Fun
gosh.
talking to women there, yes.
Yeah. I'm so glad that like we have access to healthcare professionals like yourself, who are so inclusive, who are constantly trying to learn and upgrade their knowledge, and who want to cater to like people from different identity locations, and that's fantastic. Which is why I thought like you'd be the perfect and the safest person to talk about, the vulva. Before we get into it, I just quickly wanted to like tell our audience who you are. Um, Dr. Renuka is an experienced resident doctor with a demonstrated history of working in the medical practice industry, both in India and the United States. Along with an MBBS from India, Dr. Renuka is certified by the Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates and has passed all exams to practice in the United States. Woot woot!
Yes, the exams is like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just so
Yes.
anyway, so yeah, I mean, but that's like that's a very boring description of me. That's like my theory
I know.
description.
Telling our
Uh,
see that like you have a really fun introduction. Like the many people you are the mom.
yes, absolutely, and also like friend to Aprupa, which is awesome. Love to have
Yes,
that in my title. Yes.
friend,
Um,
friend.
uh, I think the easiest way to describe me is I am a mom, an indirect mom to anyone that's in my close friend circle. That's something that happens. I'm also a mom to two cats, one that's deceased, one that's dead, mom to a 10-month-old child. Um, and I'm really passionate about women's health, and I love that I get to meet people like you in the work that I do. Because who gets to do it, right? Sitting in New York, getting to know so much about how healthcare can change in India and being part of that change. And
Yeah,
I really want to create a more inclusive space in healthcare for
yes,
everyone because I think women's health is so personal, but at the same time, it's got so many other implications on
absolutely.
how we look at things, on how society is shaped. So I'm very glad that I'm in a space where I can change that outlook and I get to meet people like you who are doing it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I like the first time I met you, I think, okay, this is going to become like a mutual admiration live, but I think our audience will bear with it for just a second. The topic's super interesting. But no, I just really appreciated how you were so cognizant of like the politics of like healthcare and this idea that oh it just has to be about like losing weight, and you and I have spoken about this quite a bit as well, how that seems to be like the standard solution and how just so much onus is placed on the individual for any healthcare issue that they may have when so much of it is systemic. And yeah, and I think like I also really enjoy your very calming presence. I mean, I'd love to like receive all bad news from only you, right? Because
What? I
like
don't want to be that person.
because you'll be like such a great harbinger of news like that.
I struggle. I struggle, but I get what you say. I feel like um, the whole point of healthcare is just telling somebody that's going through things that you have a team, you have an arsenal at your side, ready to make you better and like ready to make you okay, versus this is your thing and not my problem to manage, because it makes a very
Hmm.
big difference in your experience in how you look at your own health as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, you're very wanting to empower like women and people who identify um, from other marginalized gender identities as well. Like
Yeah.
your um, basically your drive to empower them is fantastic. And I mean it's Vulvember, so we must
Yes.
talk about vulva health and what exactly the vulva is, because often there's a lot of conflation between vulva and the vagina, and people kind of say, use those two terms interchangeably. So, if you could enlighten us a little bit as to what exactly the vulva is.
Yes. So, your vulva is, so what you see is your vulva, and what's inside is the vagina. So,
Hmm.
to put it like this was a very broad one-line description, but when we talk about the vulva, we are looking at the exterior of the genitalia that you're having.
Hmm.
So it starts, it's below your pubis, so it starts right up at your clitoris. There's going to be the
Hmm.
big fat lips called the labia majora, the thinner
Hmm.
inner lips called labia minora, and they enclose what is urethra or your pee hole. And then there's your
Hmm.
vagina, which opens up into the vaginal canal or in the interior of your reproductive system. And
Hmm.
the vulva ends like, or the labia end at the tip or the lower opening of your vagina. So that
Hmm.
is essentially what your vulva is. And
Hmm.
the fun fact about vulva is everyone's vulva is their own. Everyone's
Yeah.
vulva looks really different. The lips of the vulva can be, so what you call like the lips of what folks refer to as the lips of your vagina are actually the lips of your
Hmm.
vulva or the labia majora and minora. And
Hmm.
they are fleshy, they are pink fleshy structures. The labia
Hmm.
majora is the part that has hair, and the minora
Hmm.
is the inner, more delicate part inside. And
Right.
that's your own, it's individual, so it can be purplish, it can be pinkish, as long as it's
Right.
not unintentionally hurting, then
Right.
it's like it's unique to you and it's yours to own. So I think
Absolutely.
that's, yeah, it can also be brownish black, it can be looser. So
Yes.
something that I would like to share here is I've actually had a patient that's come up to me and said, I had a breakup with somebody because my partner wasn't happy with the way my vulva looked and questioned if I was a virgin. So that's the amount of prejudice and misconception we
Right.
hold about it, because you just
Right.
assume that okay, because I've not been sexually active in that region, it's supposed to look a certain way, but it's not. And that's the biggest message for you to have, that it can look any way
Absolutely.
and it can still
Absolutely.
be normal. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I did not know this myself till I happened upon this page called the Vulva Gallery on Instagram. And like I highly recommend that all of us go check it out. I mean, yeah, I kind of knew that like vulvas look different, but I'm like, how different can it really look, right? Um, but really different, like you just said.
mhm.
No two vulvas look alike. And it's so unfortunate to hear about this person whose partner thought that, yeah, whatever, their vulva wasn't attractive enough. But yeah, their personality wasn't attractive enough, right? Like the
Yeah,
partners.
yeah, yeah,
And you're right, because there isn't enough knowledge. People often kind of wonder if they're okay, if they're normal, and also like you see these very cosmetically, aesthetically altered, surgically altered vulvas in pornography. So you kind of feel like, oh, all vulvas must look like that, must be like
yeah,
hairless, must look innocent for some reason,
yeah.
right? And must be pink, even like if I'm brown is,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes, yes. Like you
yeah,
could be really fair and your vulva could be dark brown, and that's not a problem. It's something that's
yeah,
so, I mean, I don't know how own it. Like, we come to terms and we accept and we own our boobs, so you should be doing
right.
that to your vulva as well.
Right, right. I love that. I love that. Also, like some trans people use the word front hole instead of vagina,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they may decide to use another name to refer to their vulva, and that's absolutely fine and valid. What's
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
medical to say yes? So,
Like, so it's a big learning journey for me to learn that from you, and I would
hmm,
really love to like use that
hmm,
terminology. So you are much more right and much more experienced than me when it comes to that. Yes, anybody that's going to through a gender reaffirmation process, Yes, please feel free to call it what you feel like calling it. That's a part of your existence. All you have to do
Yes.
is just take good care of it. That's the
Yes.
biggest message.
Okay, that's great because that was going to be my next question. How does one take care of their vulva? You see all these bee washes in the market and um, other kinds of intimate hygiene washes, and there are practices such as douching. There are perfumes, I believe, and for some reason, your vulva and your vagina is supposed to taste like everything except and taste like everything except your vulva and your vagina, right? Or your front hole. It's supposed to taste like strawberries. It's supposed to smell like flowers. Like, why do I need to have a garden down there? Why can't I just have genitals?
Yes, exactly. You just need to have genitals. You do not need to have a garden down there, because then your garden will grow yeast, and that is not something you want.
Yeah.
Just about talking about the care of the vulva, right? We're not just talking about your vagina or your genital hole or whatever you want to call it. Um, you are talking about your clitoris, you are talking about the lips or the labia, which have hair on it. So care starts from, and this is not a particular order or sequence. I'm just going from, um, like anterior to posterior is the medical term for it, but I'm just going from front to back. So starting with your clitoris or with your larger labia majora, which have hair on it, just be very mindful that when you're trimming, when you're using a razor or scissors, for folks that are not waxing, just be very mindful that you make sure it's sterilized, because hair follicles have roots in them that can get infected, and you could have some pus in it. So make sure that you change your razors regularly. Use disposable razors if that's a luxury you can afford. If you're just trimming with scissors, be very careful. Even washing the scissors with simple soap and water would do, because no one's going to kill them. I'm assuming people are not that tedious. The second
Right.
thing, I forgot to say this. So, like your labia can look different, but so can your clitoris, right? It can be larger, it can be smaller. Sometimes androgens can also cause a temporary enlargement in your clitoris, in the
That's
exterior of the clitoris that we see, and that's fine. There's more to love.
right.
So, that's completely
Right.
fine.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, so that's about like the top. And whenever somebody is trying to experience, like get a Brazilian or something, one, you don't need to get it for your partner. You want to get it, please get it, by all means. And if at all you are getting one, then please just make sure that you try it in a not so delicate area first. The waxes you use at home and the procedure and the temperatures you use at home are so much different than getting it done with an expert. So please be very careful, because the reaction down there is more painful than you could
Right.
think of.
Right.
The second is, any forms of sores, rashes,
Hmm.
lumps,
Hmm.
and bumps is not
Hmm.
normal. So get it
Hmm.
checked.
Hmm.
And that could
Oh,
be yeah.
you see like boils down there, or you see like and they usually pus filled, like you said, and that's not normal, is it?
No, that's not. That's not. So when you're often when hair is not taken care of, or when pubic hair is not cleaned properly, if there's a
Hmm.
cut that could get infected, those hair follicles develop boils. And coming slightly
Right.
lower in the vulva, the labia also have what are called Bartholin's glands. So they're small glands that help with lubrication, especially in a sexual experience. And those glands can also get infected if you've been rubbing repeatedly or scratching repeatedly. And if that happens, you could get an abscess there too. So any
Right.
lump or bump has to be checked. Also, your
Right.
invited lymph nodes are in that same groin area. So if you're having some infection there, they are bound to come up as like painful bumps. So you want to get it
Right.
checked. And this is all
Right.
from vaginal discharge and vaginal infections. That's something that comes from inside to the out. This is stuff that's
Right.
happening outside.
Right. Right.
Also, a lot of women who use sanitary pads, disposable sanitary napkins, they can get
Hmm.
rash to repeated rubbing of the napkin against their skin.
Hmm.
Or women that
Hmm.
don't, or any person for that matter that doesn't follow really good
Hmm.
hygiene, can also get skin fungal infections there. So that could also
Right.
be something you need to look out for if it's itching repeatedly and on your skin or on the exterior or over the
Hmm.
labia, instead of
Hmm.
or without heavy vaginal discharge. That could be
Right.
something you want to look out for. So if there's any of these red flags, like I said, lumps, bumps, sores, groins, rashes, just talk to somebody, get help from a doctor, and they should be able to guide you with this. The second thing is, like you said, douches. So douches, final perfumes for oils, and I've kind of done my research for this for proactive for some weird reason, but I've done. There's like a ton of products that people want to
Yeah,
make a garden, but none of those are healthy. Even with
right.
washing, and this is new information that I've read, is the wash or usual vaginal washes are they have a very high content of lactic acid in it, which kind of
Oh,
disturbs vagina's general chill pH. So, and
right,
you have been told by a doctor to use it, don't.
right,
Vagina is
right.
self-cleaning. This does not
Correct,
mean that you don't need to wash your groin. You can wash your groin with
correct.
soap and water like you do in a bath, but you don't
Hmm.
need to put a finger or a douche or a wash inside of your vagina and clean it like
Hmm.
you would a dog.
Right, right. That's
That,
super interesting. And I recently learned about how, like, while a cis woman's vagina is self-cleaning, a trans woman's vagina or a neo vagina is not self-cleaning, and it requires like a specific hygiene practice to be maintained. So it's very interesting to know, how hygiene practices can look different in different bodies, even though we
yes,
might be
yes,
like of
yes.
the same gender. You also mentioned a little bit about pain and if there are any abnormalities down there. So some amount of pain is kind of to be expected around your periods, no, or is that not normal around your vulva region?
Yes, so for some folks, period pain can radiate to the vulva. It can radiate to
Hmm.
the clitoris. So if you're having a really bad period cramp, it's possible that your clitoris hurts. And that's such a sensitive part of your body that it hurts like equally
Sure,
as much as it,
sure.
it adds to your pleasure. So that can be a painful experience for folks. It shouldn't normally, but if it's happening on day one of your periods and it's happening with your cramp, then it's fine and then it's to be expected. But right when we were doing this research around vaginismus and like just educating, I came across this thing called vulvodynia, which is something I told
Yeah.
you I want to really speak about because not enough is said.
Yes.
So, vulvodynia is just unwanted pain or
Hmm.
discomfort around your vulva that's been there for around more than or equal to 3 months. So
Right,
somebody may experience like a small spasm or like nerve irritation, and that pain is really temporary. But
right, right.
hypotonia is so uncomfortable that you could feel that pain. It could be stinging, it could be
Hmm.
burning, it could be just irritation. But you feel
Hmm.
that discomfort during sitting, and then
Hmm.
having sex is something that becomes very unthinkable and uncomfortable. And it's the
Hmm.
exterior, right? So even without
Hmm.
direct penetration, for folks that are homosexuals, for folks that are just using digital like fingers for pleasure,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
very painful experience. And
Right.
is what's called vulvodynia, and it needs to be assessed separately. It's not normal, and you could feel like throbbing, you could feel itching. It could be any
Correct.
without the
Right.
absence of any other, like with the absence of any other, and you need to get
Right.
that out.
Right, right, right. And applying Zandu balm is not going to make it go away, right?
I
You're just asking for a friend.
I think if you have genital pain for whatever
Hmm,
reason, the first thing
hmm,
you do is get it checked. Jandu balm never helps in your vagina. Like I said, you will grow a good kind of, fungus out there, and we don't want to do that. I also want to
sure.
like, now since you said like you brought up Jandu balm, I want to tell folks here that not everything is a good natural lubricant. Please
Hmm.
do not
Zandu
experiment.
balm as a lubricant.
No, you'd be surprised. Okay, we had this column in a newspaper a few years ago where somebody had asked, does lemon juice work? Does orange juice work? Because it is acidic. And I
Right.
remember the sexologist specifically writing, do you want to make a bhel puri down there? Which was so funny. And that was like my point. Like I always remembered it as a doctor. This is the reference I'm giving that no,
Yeah.
everything is not a good vaginal lubricant. Please not.
Yeah.
Everything is not a
Yeah.
good sexual lubricant, even for anybody that's, in a fluid gender state. No, please
Right.
just check what you're using. I would always
Correct.
recommend that even if you're using for pleasure, use a lubricant that does not contain sugars. Use if you're using a contraceptive, so if you're using a barrier contraception like condoms, or if you're using like a dental dam or a diaphragm, then use use a silicone or a water-based lubricant. Most of the ones that are available are water-based or silicone oil-based. Don't use a
Right,
regular oil-based lubricant, nonsense baby oil,
right,
going to degrade your condom,
right,
and you might as
right,
well end up with a pregnancy. So do not do
right,
that.
right, right. Our very lovely audience member, Sudha_27 says, please do not use veggies as sex toys. Uh,
Yes.
why not? I'm growing a garden down there. Why can I not grow
Yes, let me
veggies?
just calm right away. No, please cover your veggie with a condom in the least. Please, please, please.
Right, right,
Uh,
right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this was really, really useful, and I mean, I think I learned so much from this conversation, and I hope that we can talk more about this. I hope we can talk more about maybe specific care for vagina and specific
Mhm.
care for the anus. But I mean, I think the most important thing that I kind of wanted to do through this conversation was to also just like break the taboo a little bit, because I feel like we're not talking about our genitals enough.
Yes.
And I mean, you talk about like, washing your face and washing your body, and you're taught about like bodily hygiene growing up, but like genital
Yes.
hygiene is never given any attention whatsoever. Even your parents are kind of like, yeah, do your business, and you
Yes.
learn on your own.
Yes. We don't
Um,
like
so
when does a parent have a conversation with you to tell you that that's fine, right? That looks normal, right? No parent ever sits
hmm,
down and explains what your genitalia is to you. And I feel like we do definitely need to talk. Okay, parents didn't go about it, but we can, as friends, start that conversation and help normalize it. And I love that you
yeah,
decided to do it because I know
yeah,
Rahat, we never had comprehensive sex ed.
God.
I know,
Yeah,
but I wish
yeah,
like sex ed is not supposed to be about embryo and zygote, which are the two most common words that are thrown at you in school.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No,
Mm.
so I'm so glad we could do this, and thank you so much for making very medical information super accessible. And anybody watching this live, I'm or like on IGTV later, I'm sure they're going to feel very empowered with the knowledge that you've equipped them with. And thank you so much for like the work that you do, and for the person that you are, and for the kind of professional that you are. And yeah, I
I want
hope
to
we can
send
do a lot.
hearts. I'm trying. Like there's no place where I can, but so many hearts.
Oh, you can
I
only
would
do it.
say I am learning so much about making medicine inclusive from you as a friend, as a colleague, both you, Rahat, and it's like it's amazing that I get to work with y'all. And I love that we did this session because I didn't think of it, and I'm always
Yeah,
wanting to do it. So, by the way, the nose ring is fab. I wanted to say this,
thanks.
but now we're
We have
wrapping up.
no, no. We really get into stuff like this in the show. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's going through a manic phase of sorts. Like mental health hasn't been great, so I'm like, oh, let me pay an homage to this like low, and that's when I went and got it.
I
Love it.
love that you're owning it. Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. I'm just feeling so much love for the two of you, Rahat says. Thank you so much, Rahat. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. We don't
Yes,
want to
and I'm
say
very,
bye, like we're,
I
we're
know.
stalling the session.
It's a live, so yeah, I get it. But yeah, I love doing this. If there's anything like I would love to like get on and do this again, talk more, maybe do a post. But
Yay,
yes, yay, Valvember.
yay, yay, Valvember to everybody. Yes, bye.
All right, bye. How do I sign out of the live, Aprupa?
I will just like send you. You're gone.
Okay. Thanks.